Well, welcome to We Don't Color on the Dog, the DC in DC version. Good afternoon, Mayor.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I always feel like someone's talking to me here. I hear DC all the time, and they say bad things about
Keep turning
DC. Yeah,
around.
I was like, are you talking about me or the city? So yeah, no, glad to be here.
Yeah, you just left Senator Rick Scott's office. How's the day been for you?
It's been great. Yeah, we met with Congressman Petronis, with Senator Scott. Senator Moody's team was there. We stopped by Senator Tuberville and Senator Britt's office as well. So it's been great. That's what I like to do is get up here and maximize our time, and lots of conversations about the airport in supporting our. We were fortunate to get $4 million from the federal grant program last year, and so we hope to continue that support. And also some conversations around space and American magic, and some manufacturing possibilities at the port. So very excited about both of those things, and got a chance to chat. Actually, spent a lot of time with my Senator Scott talking about childcare. As a matter of fact, just kind of came up as we talked about workforce and some of the challenges that we have in education. So we covered a lot of ground, and it was a good, productive day, I thought.
Well, Senator Scott has always been big on the military and veterans. We know child care is very important to our service people that come to this area. We've got to be able to handle their needs too.
Yeah, of course. And again, when you can attack quality of life, education, and workforce, and additionally the military, if you add that in, not often can you have one topic that can cover that much ground, that with if you can try to improve one thing. And so that's what I shared with Senator Scott, is to say, hey, it's not just about subsidy. It's also about really we have a need at all levels for increasing childcare access, helping pay better. And we talked a lot about even some of the red tape to get, someone who might be a retiree that certainly is qualified to go be a childcare and make in childcare, that we don't make it too difficult for somebody to be able to do that as well. And so again, we know how much that could factor in. And Paul Bonicelli, who works on all of Senator Scott's veteran issues, was in the meeting as well. And I've spent some time with him in Pensacola, and we continue to push forward with that.
Well, I don't think there's anything the value of being, in their office and seeing them on their ground is just a part of the job of being the mayor.
It is. And I think in Tallahassee and in Washington, D.C., I feel like, listen, we've got great advocates. We have lobbyists, and we have them for a reason, to help us navigate these issues that someone really can't do on their own. But there really is no replacing the figurehead, whoever that is, whether that's the mayor, the county commissioner, the sheriff, the decision maker, because I think it sends a message that we care enough about this to stop what we're doing in a busy day and a busy week to come here and ask you to help us with something. And a perfect example, I got to share with Senator Scott how much I appreciated him. Ever since he made a phone call to TSA in spring of last year, has been a dynamic change, not only temporarily when it was such an issue at our airport, but permanently. There's been more staff there ever since, and we had our busiest day ever, and our average wait was 13 minutes. And I was able to share that with him as really a win that only took place because Senator Scott got on the phone. And so having those connections and those relationships, a big or small issue, is such a vital part of what we do.
Well, I spent part of my weekend going through the East Side CRA update. Yes. And I think one thing that really stands out, and it's going before the second reading before the city council, and hopefully they'll pass the ordinance, but just how much input y'all work to be sure, because you and I talked about it very early. I'm the dinosaur around, but we know how much the Black community has been studied to death and town hall to death. And the challenge that you recognized early was to show this is different. And I think you did it this time. Talk about it.
And listen, I think a lot of times, and especially in some early meetings and early town halls, there'd be a lot of pushback or preemptive anxiety, or the city won't do this and won't do that. And I really tried to make it a goal that I never took that personally, and meaning that there's deeper rooted issues beyond Mayor Reeves's tenure or the previous mayor's tenure that about the government maybe not doing what they said they were going to do. So I couldn't take offense to that, because that's lived experience for somebody to say, well, I've sat in city or town hall meetings for 30 years, and they come and say this and don't do that. And so I've really tried to make it our mission that whether you agree with what we're going to do, and then sometimes you may not agree with what we're going to do, but that we do what we say we're going to do. And that if we say we're going to hear from you and not just have one meeting at City Hall and say 3 people showed up and say, well, then I guess the neighborhood didn't care. I'd rather have 23 meetings like we've had so far at Hollis T. Williams, and where we not only know from an objective standpoint about what the community wants, but that we meet people where they are at different times when they work different hours. And maybe they can only be there on Saturdays or they can only be there in the mornings. And so we never want to leave anybody's opinion behind. We can't make people come to these meetings, and listen, we'll catch our fair share of flack on, well, why didn't you tell us? And we've got to come back and say, well, we have had 23 meetings. I mean, we are doing our best. We can't knock on everybody's door, but I want to be able to be proud of and stand behind when we say we want to engage the community, that we can show that we did it. And so I think with these plans, you've seen that. And these plans is what allows us. And listen, East Side funding is a significant issue. There's not a lot of funding or dollars in the CRA, but that roadmap that you saw and that's going to go for second read is what the plan is. And that it means whatever dollars would ever be procured. What if the East Side CRA expands? If there start to be more and more dollars there, those are the projects that we're allowed to spend them on. And so getting a long range vision from the neighborhood, even if there isn't money to do all of those things today, still is vitally important as we move forward.
Well, I was looking at the 2004, the original plan, and it also had two-way on Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard. So that's the mountain you've had to climb. And again, it always has been. It's a depressed neighborhood for a long time. It didn't have the incremental growth that we see downtown and even on the west side. So it's got its challenges, but I think the plan and the input part is valuable. The other thing we got a lot of input last Thursday on the Baptist. I thought it was a fruitful meeting. There were a lot of different issues. Not everything had to do with demolition that was being discussed in that meeting, but it looks like, in my read of it and watching it, is that the commission wants to find a way. They support the project. Now they want to try to find another funding source other than the general fund, and they hope to have that by July. But there are a lot of things that surfaced there.
Yeah, listen, I thought it was a productive meeting. And again, all I had asked is, instead of half information through the media and one soundbite here and there, that let's just have a holistic conversation. Really, a conversation we probably already should have had, but we are where we are, and that's okay. And so I was glad to be able to have that in one sitting where people could then see, when we talk about, well, why isn't the city taking the low bid? Well, I don't look at the low bid as the actual low bid, and we were able to explain why and not have to, again, do it in one sentence chunks and try to explain it. So, I thought that was good, and I thought it was productive. And listen, as you heard me say, no one can appreciate the need to try to get creative about how to fund something more than me. I feel like that's what I've tried to do with every project that we've had, including this one. But I wanted to also clear the air, and I think the public misperceives this sometimes, that the city only having $1 million in. If I'm done at $1 million, show me where to sign, like that document where the city is actually done at $1 million. And because we're talking about demolition as step one, but that we get naive to or forget about 2, 3, 4, and 100 that will be coming up in the months and years to come. And so what I really want, though, is I think this is a project that benefits the city. I believe all 5 commissioners agree that this is something that does benefit the county. So if they want to look at creative ways to help us with a funding stack to show that they appreciate the fact that it does help the county as well, I'm all for that, and we're happy to sit down with staff and figure out ways, if there's ideas that we can come up with that are helpful to them. We're absolutely open to that. So again, I think it was probably a conversation a long time in the making, that and that was, I think you saw why, because I think we made a lot of inroads in a much shorter amount of time than going back and forth about little bits and pieces of this issue. So looking forward to working with them and being able to get something done.
Well, it's taken a while to get from when Baptist left the property to that meeting last week. It took a while to get there. And for you, I mean, we had to get legislative buy-in. There are a lot of pieces to it. I think that one thing that was that I jumped on really quick watching the meeting was the deal that you and the Commissioner May and Baptist were to work out about carving aside some buildings that could actually provide some medical care in that neighborhood.
Yeah, absolutely. And listen, I think that is what the community wants. They've made that clear for quite a while. And I mentioned in the meeting, listen, conversations and disagreements about the bond and what the county has done for Baptist and what Baptist has done for the county. I've said, and I've reminded myself many times of this during this process, Rick, I've said that was always going to be the challenge of this project, is you got a lot of moving parts with a lot of different opinions. And and all of that. And if the city is successful in this, we're going to look back not just at the money. It's how do you get to make great things happen? We've got to get difficult conversations and get everybody in the gumbo, and let's figure out something that's palatable for everyone. And so here's a perfect example. I love the idea of having healthcare there, but the county can have a different conversation with Baptists than we can about that, and just in terms of how we all position around this. I mean, we're getting property donated to us and other things like that. And so when Commissioner May brought up the idea to me to say, hey, what if, how do you feel about these right of first refusals? I said, I'd sign that away in 10 seconds, because if we're taking those parcels that Baptist plans on hanging on to and turning them into public good, I don't care, city, county, who cares? That's better for city residents and county residents. So I loved that idea. We'd always generally talked about healthcare, but that was the first time we kind of said, well, here's a tangible action step we could take. And I absolutely support that and love that idea. And I said, we will sign away. I was just trying to protect and preserve that getting into private hands after we spent a lot of investment dollars across the street. And so if it goes to county hands or to community health or someone like that, I couldn't endorse that anymore. And very, very excited about that prospect.
Well, and I think with the future development of that property, healthcare could be a big factor in helping more people be interested in that area, as well as Lumen, as the commissioner has come back with the community services side of it there too. So it could enhance the prospects of the future development, not hurt it.
Absolutely. And you see that with these type of developments all the time. Sometimes it could be a police or a fire station. Sometimes it could be a school. There's these different elements that are not only good for the community, it helps move the new development and the new affordable housing access faster. So absolutely. I mean, who's going to ever balk at the idea of having, additional healthcare resources within their community? We all want that. So very, very excited for that for sure.
Mayor, thank you so much for coming up. I'll see you at the press conference on Wednesday now. So
That's right. That's right. Yeah. Yeah. Thanks for adjusting for my trip. I'll be back tomorrow and we'll see you Wednesday.
Okay, good deal. I'll end this session. Thank you.
Thanks for watching, and to keep up with what's going on, be sure and subscribe. Just click on the little dog to the right and click the subscribe button. You can also like this video and click on the bell, which will notify you of new content. This really helps the channel grow. We appreciate you.